We are back with some more Road Gang Radio live from the Fastport Studios, so I think it's time to find some magic in this conversation.
Oh, that was nicely done.
Yeah, I do that.
That was nicely done. Hey, LaRue, how are you doing? Good to see you. It's good to have you here on Road Gang Radio. Welcome back, as always, man.
Quietly all of a sudden. Are you going to NPR voice or?
Yeah, I thought I'd drop down an NPR voice, do that whole
Were you
thing.
getting all serious on me for some reason?
I will never get serious ever again.
Good.
Just for Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Would you care to do the honors of the introduction?
Yeah, I would love that. Jennifer, are you there? Before I dote on you, are you there?
Hope so.
I'm here.
Oh, I just wanted to hear her sweet voice in person. Hello, good morning, friend.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, here's the thing. We are so excited to have you. So, Jim, you know how sometimes you meet someone online and you think, oh my gosh, I want to be friends with this person. And then you get really creepy and stalk them. That's me. Enter me. That was me a couple weeks ago with our guest. I totally slid into her DMs. I don't even use that term a lot because I feel like I'm too old or creepy to say it, but I totally slid into her DMs. We talked, and then I was really excited when she said she would come on and do our show. The next guest, so Jennifer Moorman. Here's all of her bona fides as quickly as I can, because as you say, Jim, if I really told you all about her, it'd be the whole interview. But she's a USA Today bestselling author of 5 novels, including The Vanishing of Josephine Reynolds and The Magic All Around, which, by the way, I am currently reading, and the Mystic Water series. Her books, Jim, they're the kind of stories that just make you believe the world is waiting to show you something extraordinary, and I need more of that in my life. She's been praised by Publishers Weekly, Booklist, list goes on. She's been a contributor to People, Writers Digest, Parade, and again, the list goes on. She double majored in recording industry and English at MTSU, which is a really cool combination. She's toured the country as a professional singer. She spent years as a senior editor at Harper Collins, helping other authors shape their books, because, Jim, we should write.
Right.
Yeah. She's also the co-host of the One Happy Thing podcast with some fellow bestselling authors and friends of hers, which I've listened to as well. It's very joyful and it's short, which I appreciate. But here's why I think she's perfect for our audience today. She lives in what she calls a magic house in Nashville, which I can't wait to talk about. She's made a career out of noticing the kind of everyday magic that most people walk right past. We want you to see that magic too. That's why we're talking to her today. Good morning. Please make welcome to the show my new friend and yours, Jennifer Moorman. How are you?
Oh, my goodness. Good morning. What an introduction. That was amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I have been really looking forward to this, and I'm so excited to be here with you.
Oh, yay. Jim, she's excited to come on. I'm sure most people are scared to come on this show. Who knows what we're going to talk about? No, not really. I'm excited to have you.
Jennifer, there's something that goes on in a lot of your books, and it's a lot of people, look, I mean, people that tell stories, but there is something that you kind of play with and play through in all the stuff that you do, where it's stories about people that tell stories. It's stories about people that love to collect stories. It's stories about people who kind of dig in deep and figure out how one goes about telling the story and how to tell it better. And you talked about the idea of creating a magic house. Is the foundation of that literally having a wonder cabinet for a house where you can just walk around and everything in it is a story unto itself that could take up an entire evening?
I think yes. Also, I think you can have what I call the magic house wherever you live. I mean, you are the magic. That's what I also like to say, is that you can take it with you wherever you go, whether you're at your home or you're traveling. But yeah, I mean, I'd say a curated house full of things I love, just that make me happy to look at, just as you, not just collecting things, but the way you decorate, the colors. I love a vibrant space that just feels good when you walk into it. And I think that's how my stories feel. They're just, you could sit down with them and just get cozy and you just feel good and safe and happy. So I do love that. I'm very intentional about it, but it also makes me joyful.
Well, and I'm glad you just said makes you joyful, because here's the thing, Jennifer. I love the word magic. I might even get it tattooed on my body, that word. And I believe it in a magical, I'm happy to say I'm a proud woo girl. I'm very woo. But if you want to be practical, I think you could interchange the word magic with joy. So I love that you said joyful on it, because When I think something's magical, it just means I feel like I can go do be anything I want. So I think anything that brings you joy makes you feel that as well. So like maybe just from a practical standpoint before we dive into some of your work, talk about that a little bit as far as it pertains to we have such a huge trucking audience in their cab, like putting things in there that bring them joy, I think helps them get the job done and then get home. Would you agree with that?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. There, even when I travel, there are things I take with me all the time just because, a journal or, a favorite pajama, whatever it might be. I think you can take it everywhere because, again, you are the magic, the joy, and putting things around us that remind us of the things we love, what brings us happiness, what we want to hold on to. That's very important and special, especially if you're on the road a lot. I think it's just makes so much sense to surround yourself, no matter where you are, with those things because it does keep you grounded, but also keeps you from getting too heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a balance there.
And the idea of keeping grounded, in many ways, is an important part of the process because, after all, if we're talking magic realism, which you do have a deep affection for, you've got to figure out what that grounding is because you don't want to kind of slip away. Lindsay talks about the woo. I talk about moving into the ether, as it were, but you've got to have something that actually brings you back home. I mean, at the end of the day, we all end up being Dorothy, having to click our heels at some point, right? So how do you stay grounded? We hear the term toxic positivity. How do you avoid that? The idea that, turning your eyes away from what isn't pleasant, because that's a very different thing than the kind of joy you're talking about. You're talking about engaging with the world and finding joy as opposed to avoiding the things around us that might cause us discomfort, correct?
Yes, I totally agree with what you're saying. So toxic positivity, I think you need to honor all of your feelings. I don't wake up every day. Now, most days I do wake up feeling very joyful and grateful. Gratitude is a huge practice of mine every day, all day. But I have days where I feel, bummed out or I get upset or angry about things. And I think it's important to honor all of your feelings, but also I am constantly looking for the good because I want to. That's important to me because there's good everywhere. You can flip the script on anything. I'm not saying everything is perfect or wonderful, but gosh, y'all, there is so much wonder and magic, if you will, Lindsay, or joy everywhere if you're looking for it. Because I do believe that what you focus on expands. And so for me to stay grounded, it'll just be staying real, honoring all the emotions, making space for them. I'm not, bubbly every single day, and I think that's okay. But just, connecting all of those joyful moments to real life. And I do think it's okay to turn away. You don't have to look directly at the things that make you incredibly unhappy. I think what you consume, you become. And so for me, it's important to, monitor what I'm bringing into my life on a daily basis.
And she used the word expand, Jim. So I want to reference real quick because their podcast, the One Happy Thing podcast, which you can search wherever you find your podcast and listen. First of all, I love they're just about 15 minutes for the most part, the ones I've heard at least. And she and two friends that are also writers, and they just tell you one joyful thing that's lighting them up that day and kind of then expand on it. And so expand, Jennifer, I listened to the one where you're talking about just your posture, like putting your arms in the victory V and being like, today's going to be a great day. It can sound Pollyanna, and maybe it's simple because it is. I think we overthink things so much where, when you talk about gratitude, that sounds so simple, but it's funny. The more simple the idea I've come to find recently, the more profound the outcome, I feel like. And I really liked that podcast. I encourage people to go listen to it again, One Happy Thing podcast, and check it out. But Jennifer, talking again back to you're such a beautiful writer. You do so many things, writing being one of the biggest ones. And we have truckers with big stories. I, as a songwriter, have truck drivers send me story ideas, song ideas every day. So can you talk to our audience about, they've lived some wild, unbelievable moments, seen a lot of things out on the road. What would be your advice to someone who has a story to tell, wants to share it, but doesn't know where to start outside of blabbing on Facebook, like an actual more focused way to share a story?
Oh, I love this. I love that they send you song ideas and stories. It's beautiful because I think we are all made of stories. Your whole life is a story, and it's constantly evolving and unfolding. So for someone who really we all have great stories, but if someone really feels drawn to record it, write it down, I realize they're on the road. So you could record it, literally talk into a recorder. Most of the phones that people have can record messages. You can tell your story. You can also, when you stop, if you have some breaks, you can write it. I mean, I carry a journal everywhere. If for some reason I can't find my pen, I will do the recording, talking to my phone, send myself a message. I just think starting anywhere, that's the first step, often the hardest step, just to start doing it. Just say, you know what, today I'm going to just write down some sentences, or I'm going to record a couple of minutes of this story idea that I have. If you keep doing that every day, all of a sudden you have a story, a longer story, right? You may even have a book. You may have an essay or a short story. I think just to literally start, like you said, sometimes the simplest acts are the most profound, and just start today.
It's the simplest acts. And I want to kind of move to your fiction, The Charmed Library in particular, because there's a lot of stuff that you have written. And I want to get to a question about if you were going to tell our listeners where they should start in regards to reading you. I would love to hear that. But I did want to kind of ask you about the idea of using those smallest moments as a way of kind of springing into larger stories. And of course, at the heart of what's happening in The Charmed Library is the decision to kind of burn something, to kind of cast it off. I don't want to give anything away, but to cast something off, to take a bold step in the tiniest sort of way. Can you kind of talk about the idea of how those little steps can often open up a much larger world, that sometimes the simplest thing can do that?
Well, thank you for mentioning The Charmed Library. I am super excited about it. It comes out January the 6th, which is not that far away. And it's okay that you mentioned the burning aspect, because that's not a spoiler alert. I mean, one of the first things my main character does is she decides, I've had enough of this thing. She has written all these love letters and poetry to her ex, and she decides the only way I think I can get rid of this is to burn it. Now, she's like never burned a book in her life. It is so outside of her comfort zone, but she feels that burning it is going to be the next step for her. Because if you think about burning, also it is a restorative thing. You burn the ground and so that new things can grow. So that one simple act, though, for her is not so simple, because what happens when you make one decision, your trajectory changes. Your life suddenly is on a different path. And that's what happens for the main character in The Charmed Library. So I agree, it's a simple act, but it has such huge, not consequences, but just what happens afterward. And if you think one decision you make today can totally change your life, like if you decide you want to write down a story or write a song, in another year after you've started that and you've done it day after day, huge things can happen.
Oh, I love this so much. I'm very excited about this book because I talk about that movie a lot. Jennifer, did you ever see the movie Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow?
Yes. Absolutely.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. I think about that movie, especially later in life. I think about it like it's so life-changing to me, because I've been thinking a lot lately in it, even when it comes down to my mood, Jennifer. I'm like, okay, especially as it pertains to, say, my husband, I'm like, okay, I can get, or my family, anything. I could get really mad right now, and that leads our day down this whole path, or I can shift focus and let that go, or alchemize it, whatever, and that takes us down a whole different road. I think about the sliding door aspect, not even like, did I get on the train or not, and who did I meet, did it change my life, what's my mood? And so I think that's a good place we can start, to be like, this day can go one of two ways, and you know what, it's entirely up to me, which is so powerful, and that's a magical thing to me in itself. Do you feel that, especially, I guess, in your writing, because your style is so specific, and I mean that as a compliment, that like when you sit down, do you personally have to be writing from a place when you're in a good gratitude mood, or do you let yourself write when you're in not so much of a great place?
I write all the time, and I encourage anyone to write anytime, no matter how you feel. And a lot of us will write intuitively because we feel a certain way or we feel inspired, but just like life, it comes in ebbs and flows. Some days you feel great. Some days you feel like, I don't want to do that. But I always just sit down and do it anyway. But I will tell you, writing brings me joy. Creating anything brings me joy. And so if I'm having kind of a bummer day, I actually, when I write or do anything creative, I feel better. So it is like instantly it changes your mood. When you start creating from a space that comes out of your heart, it just will alter the rest of your day. So I don't wait until I feel it, although often I do feel it. I just do it anyway, because I know that it's like if you're not feeling grateful and all of a sudden you stop what you're doing and you say 3 things you're grateful for, your entire mood will shift. And I know that.
Yep.
So like you're saying, you pick, I'm going to be angry today, or I'm going to just breathe this out. Come on, let's just breathe it out, right? Let's try it. Just at least give it a try. See how your day changes.
And also, by the way, I oftentimes choose the angry one, and I admit that, and that's sometimes okay. I think as long as you unfortunately, more often than not, I'm trying to shift back the other. But I think you have to embrace that as well and be like, it's okay. Today, you know what? I can't always be skipping down the road. Today is, or this moment, maybe not today, but in this moment, I'm not feeling great. And I think back to the power of writing. You write it down, you get it out, get that crap out of your head, out of your body, so that you can move on. I know you do that too, Jim.
I do. And by the way, I wanted to kind of say something about sliding doors really quickly here. The cool thing about sliding doors is actually it begins in the middle, because it's a great commentary on story crafting. The idea that we come down to what they call an inciting incident. The idea I could go one way or the other. And it's so kind of neat how it kind of plays itself out that way. The really cool thing I wanted to ask Jennifer, by the way, was that's a really nice feeling, isn't it? If you write every day, almost inevitably, sometimes it takes 5 minutes, sometimes it takes 10 or 15, but at some point you feel a little click happen. And then it's almost like when you do a power walk. You know, the first 10 minutes of the walk, you're not really crazy about why am I doing this? And then 10 minutes in, you go, oh, my God, thank God, I feel so much better that I did this. There's always a place in writing or creating where it goes click and the engine turns over. Is that kind of your experience?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love your walking analogy. You're like, why am I doing this with myself? And then you're like, oh, you know what? I'm never sorry that I went for a walk. But yeah, I experienced that. You know, I also give myself permission to have a really crummy writing day. Maybe it's not full of, anything that's that eloquent. And I think that's okay. To me, it's just the act of doing it, because I know there's going to be wonderful things that happen. And yeah, I do have those moments where I start out and I'm like, oh, this is garbage. And then all of a sudden I have a click and I'm like, oh, wait, but that's not garbage. So I let it flow, even if it feels like it's really great writing, or if it just feels like, you know what, I'm probably not going to use that.
And by the way, not using that often is a way to get to what you can use. That's what a lot of people don't understand. I mean, that's the biggest thing a lot of people in creating don't understand, is that people think they're wasting time when they're being quote unquote unproductive and don't realize they're being productive by clearing the brush to get to what is productive. And if you don't do the bad work, you can never get to the good work. That's kind of my feeling about it.
Yeah, I love that. That is so true. It is absolutely, nothing is ever wasted.
Okay, so now on book, we encourage everyone to consume and all your wonderful, and your books are on Audible, by the way. You can, that's a big point for us around here, Jennifer, as you can imagine, with a lot of people who drive for a living. We say our goal in this radio show is to get them down the road in 4 hours, a little bit closer to their destination. That's what Audible books do as well. So you can find her work on Audible. You can head over to jennifermoorman.com. It's Moorman, not like the religion, but no disrespect to religion, just not how hers is spelled. But for you, Jennifer, what would be the one book that you think that felt like, outside of your own, that felt like pure magic when you first read it, whether that be a child or as an adult, something that you're like, oh, because I have those few books where I'm like, I read this and everything shifted for me, like perspective, and then which finally led me to another. Is there a book out there that has done that for you?
Yes, and it's going to be from my childhood, but it's A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. That was the first book that actually a teacher gave me that made me realize I loved reading, because up to that point, I thought I did not like reading. And that book just opened up my whole world. And I thought, oh my gosh, books are like this. And then I just voraciously read so many things. And I still read a lot, but I would have to give that one my top honors, because it really changed my life when I realized that there were all kinds of books out there. And this was the perfect book for me to be given.
And have you read it again? Let me say real quick, sorry, Jim. Have you read it again as an adult? Does it hold the
Yes.
same weight or different?
Yes. No, many times I've read it. I love it. I love it. And I have such a precious feeling about it. But it's a fantastic book for adults as well. It's just wonderful.
By the way, Lindsay, it's actually perfect if you've been listening to Jennifer, because I actually have a favorite quote from it.
No way.
Yeah, believing takes practice.
Oh, love it. Love it.
Yeah, it's one of my top fives too, Jennifer. I actually have Ray Bradbury's Illustrated Man, Madeline Lincoln's Wrinkle in Time, From the Mixed Up Files of Miss Basil E. Frankweiler. Do you remember that one? That one is pretty fantastic. I bought a Scholastic book when I was growing up as a little boy. The first one I ever bought was called Sam the Minuteman. So I've got kind of a hometown feel for it. And I was going to kind of follow up Lindsay's question, because I'll tell you, A Wrinkle in Time, Lindsay, feels more like fall than almost any other book I've read. It just feels
that's
like
the best feeling ever. I'm going to have to reread this book.
The way they feel at the house, the way the whole house is set up in the beginning with the family is really, really terrific. The other one for me, and I wanted to kind of follow up, because I've always, when I read The Hobbit, the description of his home in the beginning always made me feel really home, really kind of like this is where I'd want to be if I was reading my books and doing all that kind of stuff. Is there a book that makes you feel like you're home? Is it A Wrinkle in Time as well?
I would say yes, just because it really just opened up my awareness. Because I hate to say it, but the truth is I did not like reading, because the books that I was given to read up to that point they did not speak to me, and this one did. And it's just like stepping through a portal into something else, and I'm like, oh, this is how it's going to be. So I think that one just makes me feel like seen.
Ooh, feel seen. That's as home as it gets. That's all we want to do around here is make people feel seen, including ourselves, Jennifer. The including ourselves part I think is the most important, because you can't really see others until you see yourself, I believe. Okay, but I want to pivot here. I'm going to pivot, Jim. Thank you. Pivot. I want to talk, because you toured you have also a recording industry degree. You've toured as a singer with the band that you put together for years. So I've never written a book. However, I've been writing a book for the past 8 years. Like every once in a while, I'll doodle a little bit on my computer and be like, okay, now I'm writing a book because I wrote four sentences today. But it's so, for me, it's so overwhelming. That's why as a songwriter, I can write, these 3.5-minute stories, and they're magical. And it's harder in some ways to do, and it's easier in some ways to do. But since you've done both, talk to me and a little bit about the difference between sitting down to write a book and sitting down to. Have you written songs?
Yes.
Okay, so the difference between the two, outside of the obvious of length, from a mindset perspective, how do you conquer each one differently, or is it the same for you?
Oh my goodness, this is a great question. And it's funny that the book feels more daunting than the songs, and that's the reverse for me. Writing something so summarized and meaningful and short is so challenging. I loved songwriting because I love music. It just moves me. And I was more of a lyricist than the music accompaniment. But occasionally I would, I'd get a melody and I could hum it too. But I worked with mostly guitarists, and it's just more challenging to me. But I do love it. But I'd say the approach, whereas songwriting to me was always collaborative. And when I start my book and my writing, it's not collaborative. It's really just me sitting down doing this thing. Now, as I get going, if I have wonderful brainstorming partners that I can bounce ideas off if I feel stuck or unsure about something. But songwriting was always just a collaborative joint thing, which has its own fun and maybe even its own challenges too. Whereas the book, when I started, it's really just me doing it.
Oof, that's probably why it's daunting to me, because it's like, okay, it's all up to you at this point.
But there's a lot of freedom there because it's all up to you. You can do whatever you want with no boundaries.
Yeah, that's true.
I ask this question of every single writer that comes on because some people are plotters and some people kind of flying by the seat of their pants. Have your characters ever surprised you while writing? Have you ever had them do things where you're like, oh my God, I didn't want you to do this, but you're going to do it, so I got to follow you?
Not to that extreme. I love this, though, because my characters do talk to me, and they do surprise me, but not in an extreme way. I wouldn't say that anyone's ever, made me feel like, wait, you're doing what? But, to me, I feel like their dialogue, might be surprising or how they respond. But I am not a pantser at all. There's no way. I have pantsered before, and I find that it can create a lot of bunny trails and a lot of plot holes and just a lot of free writing, which I love in its own place. But for a story, for me, I actually kind of have a pretty good idea of where it's going. It's like a GPS, right? I know the end point. I know some stops along the way, but if I get detoured slightly, it's okay. It's very organic, but I do have a pretty good idea of where I'm going and my guideposts along the way. So my characters, I do give them flexibility, but I wouldn't say anyone has really shocked me.
Ooh, there's still time. There's still time to be shocked. We're talking with Jennifer Moorman. You can head over to her website, Jennifer Moorman, MOORMAN.com. Find all her books. The new book coming in January, which I'm very excited to live my best sliding doors moment through that book. All right, Jennifer, on this show, we're almost out of time, which I hate, but I'd love for you to come back sometime on my show. We should write about the healing power of writing, because I think you and I can go a lot deeper there as well. But as we like to end the show, we say the show is about making a life out on the road. We make a living in the first half of the show. We make a life on the second half. If you could make a life out on the road this weekend, Jennifer, you're going anywhere you want, whether it be your backyard or somewhere that the moon or somewhere that hasn't even we don't even know about yet. You can go anywhere you want. Where are you going? How are you getting there? And what are you listening to along the way?
Oh my goodness, I love this. Okay, I'm going to go to the beach, the ocean. I just want to go and stand at the ocean. How I'm going to get there? I'm going to drive. And what am I listening to? Gosh, it's still before Labor Day. So what about some yacht rock?
Fair enough. You're allowed. So are you saying yacht rock is like white pants? We can only wear white pants between.
I don't know. Right. I know that is a funny thing that I still think about, but you can wear your white pants as long as you want to. But I just feel like that's what I'm going to do then this weekend. It's just really just chill out, easy going, easy breezy vibe.
Really
yacht
quickly,
rock on the way to the beach, Jim. I can get on board with that.
I want to know from our listeners too, by the way, if anybody, when somebody says yacht rock and thinks about boats, immediately thinks about Christopher Cross. I'm just curious.
Sailing,
Yeah.
take me away to where I'll always be with you. Of course. How can you not
I just
go
wanted
there?
to make sure. I wanted to make sure I wasn't alone. I always see, the canvas can do miracles. Just you wait and see. By the way, so can Jennifer Moorman. Guys, check out the podcast too, because it's almost a daily affirmation. Is what it kind of functions as well too. It's really terrific in that way. A nice bit of joy to kind of start or end the day. Thank you, Jennifer, by the way.
Thank you so much for having me.
Jennifer, can we be friends?
Yes, please.
Thank you. That sounds so needy and desperate. Can I ask you on the air so you can't say no? No, you're awesome. JenniferMoorman.com. Have the best day. Please come back soon.